June 13th, Saint Anthony of Padua, Doctor of the Church, known as the Ark of the Covenant and also as Hammer of Heretics, for his deep knowledge of Scripture and his skill at applying it in polemics to defend the faith and make converts of many. Saint Anthony was pronounced a Doctor of the Church in 1946 by Pope Pius XII. He was considered the greatest expert in Scripture of his time. He knew everything in Scriptures and was able to quote it by heart. He knew even its most obtuse and arcane passages. He not only quoted them, but he used to comment on them and draw concrete consequences from them in order to smash the heretics' arguments and encourage the faithful. Saint Anthony's style was combative in nature, as he would debate and defeat heretics. He did not have ecumenical dialogues with them. God would confirm his support for Anthony's arguments by working miracles while he was preaching. Thus, his arguments and the support of God by miracles earned him the title Hammer of Heretics. St. Anthony was a warrior saint, not an ecumenical one. He was driven to convince heretics of their wrong-headed thinking and thereby convert them while encouraging the faithful to greater degrees of holiness. St. Anthony is more commonly known as the patron saint for lost or stolen things. This relates to the book of Psalms Anthony had that was very dear to him, as it had his notes and comments he had made to use in his teachings. A disgruntled novice who decided to leave the order left, but he also took St. Anthony's book. St. Anthony prayed for the finding of the book. Soon after, the novice recanted his ways and returned to the order, as well as returning the book to St. Anthony. In another miracle, he preached to fishes, and as they began to gather in large numbers, the heretics saw this, and they realized that they should listen to what Anthony had to say. St. Anthony is also the patron saint of amputees, animals, Brazil, elderly people, horses, oppressed people, poor people, pregnant women, shipwrecks, and many, many more. He is patron saint of Brazil because, as the story goes, Rio de Janeiro was being attacked by the French Calvinist fleet. The Calvinists had great advantage over the Brazilian Catholics, who could no longer offer an effective resistance. At that point, the Franciscan friars took a statue of St. Anthony from their monastery to a central square in Rio and set it on a column. The statue began to provoke a general enthusiasm for the fight. Very soon a large number of young men entered the army. With this, it was possible to retake lost positions, reorganize the resistance, and make a counterattack. In a short time, the Calvinists were defeated and left the Brazilian shore. The fact that Brazil did not become a Calvinist country is due in no small part to the marvelous presence of a statue of St. Anthony. St. Anthony's days were long, and they were full in service of Christ and the people. He exhausted himself, became ill, and died in the year 1231 at the age of 36. Many miracles occurred at his tomb, and in the following year he was canonized by Pope Gregory IX. St. Anthony is usually shown holding the child Jesus and often with a book, a lily, and bread. The practice of picturing him with the child is said to come from a story that while visiting a friend he was found holding the child, breathtakingly beautiful and surrounded by bright light. Even in death, St. Anthony has proven to be a miracle worker. His body was exhumed 336 years after he died, and although the rest of his body was corrupt, the tongue of the great preacher was found to be miraculously preserved.